Okay, well, now it's time to regain my teacherly dignity and come back for the real serious stuff, like a vocabulary lesson, so that when I tell you to pick something up, you will grab the right piece. This is the knitting bed. It has a back rail, it has a front rail, and in my case, all these numbers have been affixed. If you look very closely, you can see those little plastic nubs there. And the numbers are affixed to those. These are wonderful time savers. There are 100 needles, as you see, and 100 needles is pretty adequate for most of what you want to make. If you get 4.5 stitches per inch, which is a worsted weight, you can make a sweater that is 44 inches around. That's an adult size large. If you get 4 stitches per inch, which is quite common with key plate number 3 and worsted weight, you can make a sweater 50 inches around. If you know someone who needs a sweater bigger than that, you can purchase extension kits, or if you want to work at a smaller gauge, it really is useful. The extension kits have 30 needles each, and I have one that I call the Monster Bond. It has 2 extension kits, a total of 160 needles. The truth is, it's a little bit cumbersome. I use it for special commissions, and I use it for special T-shapes where I have to take the sleeves and head out and it's knit all the way from here to here in one piece. I find that I very seldom use more than 130 needles, that they are quite adequate. Okay? These needles that you see have 3 positions, 3 parts. Here is the front. See this little hook here? That's the hook. If I stick my fingernail, you can see it pretty well. Here's the latch. And back here is the needle butt. All these little things along here. Okay, the needle butts. These needles also have 4 positions that they're in. This is a non-working position. It is right up against the back rail. It does not work at all. There is another position that also does not knit, and that's all the way forward. That is called holding position. Again, a non-knitting position. Technically, there are the names of 2 positions in between this, but as far as I'm concerned, they all knit. This is called half knit position, where the needles are extended about a latch from where the latch to the hook is beyond the bed. And then working position, when the bond is working normally, they're just right in that regular working position. Okay, I will be referring to those positions, and they will be your friends when you actually come to knitting. We also have a weighted hem. Ooh, excuse me. Looks like this. And you have an accessories box that has a whole series of wonderful gadgets that you need. You have 2 transfer tools. One is a 3x1 prong and a 3 prong. This latch hook tool right here is actually a needle. It does not have a butt, but you can see that it has a hook. See that hook there? And a latch. It's just like your other needles. We also have 3 clips that are used for putting on the ends of yarns when you need weights. You have some numbers. Mine have already been affixed. These, interestingly, go to 130, 65 on either side. You have 3 cards, or 4 green cards, and 1 yellow card. That's the one I don't use, but you might want to. We have elastic thread and pull cord both. I don't use the elastic thread anymore. It's for hanging on your weighted hem. It's an option. I'll show you the pull cord today. Then we have 4 key plates. These key plates are the plastic templates that decide, besides the size yarn you have, what size stitch you have. Now, because they're clear, you're not going to be able to see them very well here. Let me see. Okay. Now see these little edges? Those are the edges on which the needle butts move. Oops, did I move backward there? This is a little like rubbing your tummy and your head at the once. I'm moving one way and the television is moving a different way. Okay. Here we have the size 4 key plate. I'm going to put these together, and again, you do this at home because you'll be able to see it better. Yeah. But this number 1 key plate cuts off right there. That's as far as it pushes those needle butts. Whereas the number 4 is all the way up there. There's almost a 1/2 inch difference between there and there. And that's what determines the depth of the stitch. You use your 1 for lightweight fingerings. In fact, the sweater I have on, which is about 5 1/4 stitches per inch, is done on a number 1 key plate. With a number 2, you get about 5 stitches to the inch. A number 3 is for your worsted weight. It's used most frequently, and you get 4 to 4 1/4 stitches per inch. And the big one, I get 3 1/2 to 3 3/4 stitches per inch. There are also some modified key plates, but that's also in a different key plate news. That has to come at a different time. Now, this piece of wax that you get is supposed to wax in here, but I personally find this cumbersome. I have had one student who was able to break this in half in class and use it to wax these lateral surfaces in here, but he was a mechanic and farmer. Most of the people who come to class can't do it, so I prefer to use this. This is an old-fashioned paraffin pencil from back in the olden days when we sewed and we had metal zippers. Let me get that out of the way. This is nice and narrow, and it allows me to draw right along that lateral edge there, all the way around. Now, the reason I know where to lubricate this key plate is because I have at least 3 key plates that have about 10,000 miles on them. And they aren't worn, they're still working perfectly, but you know, because they rub up against the metal, you can see these little dark spots right along there. Actually, I didn't bring any of my worn key plates today. This is supposed to be an introduction to a new, nice, neat, clean bond. Oops. Are you getting that? Okay. All these lateral edges on the side. One of my students uses a birthday candle, which I thought was a perfect solution to the problem. Also, you know those little Easter egg kits that kids get at Easter, actually their parents, you get these little paraffin pencils, and you do a wax resist on the die, and you then dye it, and you can use one of those. It's exactly the perfect size. Okay, when we come back from our accessories, we have the carriage mechanism. We have a carriage. It carries the key plate back and forth. It has an eye and an eye. It's actually one eye, but I want you to be aware that there's one on top and one on bottom. We have a handle. It says bond. It faces you. And we have what I think is the most important piece to good functioning of your bond knitting, or at least it's the one you need to check. This is the fabric guide. It literally bumps up against your fabric underneath the needles and guides it, holds it back. If this, whoops, there's a little trick here. This isn't attached down yet. I'm going to show you how to do that. This fabric guide needs to be perfectly flat. You set it on a table. Sometimes they get bent. They fall on the floor. You step on them. I've been known to knit mine in when I'm not paying attention and it bends it. It should be perfectly flat on the table. And also, this distance, which is going to be a little tricky to see, should be 15/16 of an inch, this interior distance. Now, I've never had one that was seriously bent, but I once had a student come and she had a terrible time with it. And I simply sat it down on the table and squished it until this was not quite, notice mine isn't quite parallel. Mine kind of closes up a little bit at this end. Okay, but if you are making loops rather than stitches, that you know that this is the culprit, and probably it isn't bent, probably you just have not inserted it properly. Okay, now it's finally time to attach this bond to the table. There is one tiny little trick, and that's why mine is not attached. You'll notice that when you get your bond, that you have a piece of tape across the back of the needle butts, and mine has been removed. That's because, first of all, I want to knit, and second, I want to show you what happens. You only need that tape when you're in transit. See what happens if you tilt that forward? What's going to happen is they can pull out here, and if they get caught, I mean, here, you live in a place where there's yarn around, and we have sweater sleeves and stuff, and if they get caught, that's one of the few vulnerable places of the machine when they're out in this position. So that anytime you're going to go to a class, you're going to pack it away in the closet, although I can't imagine you doing that, you want to make sure that you put that tape in front of those needle butts again to protect it. Now we're going to put on the clamp on the left-hand side of the frame, and I wanted to show you, there's no trick really, except, see this 1/4 inch bar that runs underneath the bond? The clamp needs to go so that this part goes under that 1/4 inch bar. Can you see? There it is. perfect. You can see it. See what happens if you have it out like this, it flops around and your bond can flop on the table, and you can do what I did one time, which is pull it off in my lap. And it's most disconcerting, especially when you drop your knitting off. Okay, so I stuffed that one in so it's under that bar, and I'm going to stuff this one in to go under that bar. Okay? Oops. Oops. Okay, also, when you bring it over the edge, this front, which you can see, and I can't, this blue front should be flush with the front of the table. Notice me, it's a little bit like a blind person knitting here, reaching over to the other side of the table. There we go. Make sure that it's at a good angle. Make sure it's nice and tight. I literally did it in a beginning class one time. Got to the section where you're supposed to yank down to ladder up the there we go, the yarn. And I yanked with a great deal of aplomb. I was in a yarn shop. There were lots of people around. The whole bond came flying off the table. Okay, today I'm going to be working from behind. But ordinarily, I work from in front. This is a 41-inch table. It was custom built by a local handyman and woodworker, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. We collaborated on the design, and it has flexible legs. Ordinarily, I work in front of my bond with a computer chair and at a standard 31.5-inch bond table. That's about 2 inches or 2.5 inches higher than a regular table. You can use any table at any height. I have at least 2 students who knit standing up, and I have one who knits 24 inches from the floor using a little stool. What I'm saying to you is whatever is comfortable and whatever works, do it. There is no right way except the way that's right for you. The only thing is make sure that your table is sturdy and that it's not warped. The bond needs to set on a good, standard, straight table. We do have a few warped tables at the bond or at the school, and that's why I know it, but they're just temporary. Okay, finally, you're going to get to knit. And we're going to start with an open cast on.